Welcome to our Thursday night podcast. Sorry, Batavis. It is actually the yard site of my Elta Zayda, Pillar of Nachum, my namesake. Nisham Shanav Aliyah. We should be zeicher to be marbik for Shemayim with the Budim of Torah that bring cover to Kodesh Baruch Hu and bring cover to us, because ain't covered El Yedias HaTorah Kloshna Mchal in Nikius. Okay. The this week's Parsha Vayigash is a turning point Parsha. You have the drama of the showdown between Yosef and Yehuda. And then you have Yosef's Galus. I guess I don't have to tell you the basic theme of the Parsha. You probably all learned it with your kids on their homework sheets. If not in any other way. Mary, you're supposed to laugh at my jokes.
Typing LOL.
Okay.
I just remembered I didn't do homework with my kids.
Oh, okay. So that's so this week's it's a big parsha. It really is. It's what's really huge about this week's parsha is really most negaya us in a very real way is that this is a parsha. Klal Yisrael goes down to Mitzrayim into Galus, and you know what? That's us. We're in Galus. And the Yerida that they had in this week's parsha, and where they ended up at the end of this week's parsha, is exactly where we are. And Klal Yisrael going down into Galus, and really what's going on underneath the whole scene over here is a hachana for us, and lessons for us, and a ma'isa avisim lebanim, that the aves and the shvatim, they give a koyach to Klal Yisrael to be seivel Galus, and their avodah coming down to Mitzrayim is in order to provide us with all sorts of koyachs that we would not have had. They make tikkunim. They forged a way for Klal Yisrael and Galus. Because who are we? We're Klal Yisrael. Who are they? They were Klal Yisrael. We are one and the same, right? You can't look at the parish. You can't look at Klal Yisrael and Torah, and think for a moment, oh, that was then, those people, and then there's us. We are them. We just came up last week. We were talking about I don't know if it was Thursday night, but we were talking about the nisyonis of the Yevanim. Could be said last week about Thursday night. But Klal Yisrael had nisyonis by the Yevanim, and they were being dragged down. And I was commenting, like, I wonder which nisyon was greater, right? Was it the lure of the Greek culture, or is it the lure of? It's like so funny. It's like so funny. Like that. I like say the lure of the American culture. Well, I'm so disgusted by this age. But maybe someone out there one day will be listening to this and say, "Oh, the lure of American culture is such a disgusting culture."
You said the same thing about the Greek culture.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just saying. You say right, but ultimately there's a lure, and whether you're disgusted by it or not, ultimately the Yitzhar somehow is the way of spinning it. And makes, kekelev hashavel keyoy is a lashon of Chazal. A person does it despite the fact he knows it's disgusting. Just like a caliph will go back, he'll eat rotten food, he throws it up, and then he goes back and he sniffs it out again. Maybe this time around it'll be better, and then he eats it again. He throws it up again. It's lashon kekelev shavel keyoy, like a dog returns, goes back to it, revisits its vomit. That's the way Nebuch. That's the way Nebuch that Rishon min Olam Hazeh. They find themselves constantly revisiting the vomit lure of Galus Edom. So I was wondering, I wonder whose nisyon was greater, and I said, l'chayra, they're probably exactly the same, right? Because things just, I said in the Zayis Chanukah thing, what goes around goes around. That was what I said. What goes around comes around. It's like it's the same nisyon over and over again. So we have to recognize that what's going on in the parsha is something that's very real to us. And we have to feel a sense of siyat d'shmaya from what these tzaddikim, the Avos, Mitzri Yaakov specifically, and the Shvatim, Yosef, and what's going on beneath the scenes. The Ma'is Avos, similar bottom is really fueling us and really forging a path for us to help us go and accomplish what we need to accomplish to make the ultimate tikkunim we need to make. Because again, it's the same tikkunim. They make tikkunim on this level. We've come down, we spiraled down to the lowest level of Eilam Hazeh, and we're making the same tikkunim in our way down on the level of the spiral all the way down. So this reminded me of Maisa because Ari claims that Maisa Chanukah Sheh was a little bit not so understood for the faint of heart. So we're going to try to make this week's class share a little bit toned down easier. So haven't said a story in a while.
Or you could give Akdamas and then we'll be holding.
The problem with Akdamas is that they take like a half hour every Akdama. If you're making 3 points, it's an hour and a half of Akdamas, and then to make the point is another hour and a half. So that's 3 points. So we'll let Meir do the Akdamas in the future. But for now, I'm going to say a story to bring out the point. There was a Rebbe. He was a Kushnitzer Rebbe. He was an Anikel of the Maggid of Kushnitz, Yisrael of Kushnitz, Yisrael Hofstein of Kushnitz, a Talmud of the Rebbe Beli Melech, and a friend of the Chayzim Lublin, Mendel Rimanov, that Kufa. His great grandson, I believe his name was Aaron Yechiel. I have to look it up. I've said stories from him in the past. He lived in Warsaw before the war. He was nifty young before the war. And he was an Ish Apella, a lot of Meifsim. And his whole Halach Yelech was not as a person living in Eilam Hazeh. And one day he walks into Beis Medrash in 1935. Comes into his Beis Medrash in Warsaw, a bunch of people there learning. And he says, okay, who's in my army? Right? Come, whichever soldiers here in my army, come. Let's go. We're going on a training exercise. And a true chassid here, the Rebbe says, who's in my army? So the true chassidim got up. Let's say there were 20 people in the room. 10 of them got up. Okay, we're in the Rebbe's army. He hands each of them a broomstick. This guy a broomstick. This guy a dustpan. This guy whatever. And they put their brooms over their shoulders, and he starts taking on marches through the Beis Medrash, out of the Beis Medrash, around the Beis Medrash, right? And they did a whole army exercise. He says, okay, everyone's dismissed. Done training. We're disbanding this army. Okay? 10 years later, people that witnessed this and were involved in this event, they realized there are 20 people in the Beis Medrash, right? Not all of them survived the war, but all the people that joined the Rebbe's army survived the war. Okay, and the odds were very much not in that favor. But anyone that did this march, joined his army, they all survived the war. So the point of the story is tzaddikim, they do small things that are a ma'asav, they're a similar bonim. They do things in advance to forge a path. And what they're doing is they're making tikkunim. They're making things. They're setting things up to make it that in the future, people can can be misaken what they need to be misaken. And when I was thinking about what's going on in this week's parsha of the Avos, Yaakov and the Shvatim coming down to Mitzrayim and making their tikkunim, this is what reminded me of this story. That's what they were doing. We have to believe that everything that's going on, the mysterious nefesh that they had, even the Pasha conversations, which seem to be on the surface, seem to be one conversation. On a deeper level, there's something greater going on. Okay, so let me tell you a side. Let me megala you a side of the Megala Amukas, a deep side of the Megala Amukais, revealed by none other than Megala Amukais, Rav Nosson Nota Rav Shloima of Krakow.
That's why they call them Megala Amukais.
Megala Amukais, he's Megala, things that are Amik. He says, Azay, Mitzrayim, I'm saying it over in my own words, my own interpretation maybe. I have to be honest, I looked at Megala Amukais very quickly. So I'm going to say what I understood from my quick perusal of Megala Amukas. Mitzrayim is, like I said before, is the shayresh of all Galuyos. Okay? Klal Yisrael is forged as a nation in Mitzrayim. Not only forged as a nation in Eretz Mitzrayim, but we're forged as a nation as a nation of Yidden and Galus. This is our initial Galus. And what's meant to go on what's meant to happen in the Galus Mitzrayim is to shtel avek, to set up for Klal Yisrael how Klal Yisrael gets through the next Galuyos. The Galuyos after Mitzrayim are the Arba Galuyos of the Dal and Malchiyos, which are none other than Mitzrayim is a Shirish. So we're going to say Bavel, Madai, Yavan, Bavel, Madai, Yavan, and Edom. Okay? Bavel, Madai, Yavan, Chanukah, and Edom. Where we're holding now. Galus Raimi, Galus Edom. Comes along the Megala Mukas, and he says that what's Yosef doing over here? He's calling down Binyamin. He needs Binyamin over here. Bring him down, bring him down, bring him down. Right? He brings him down. He's staying here. What's going on over here? So Megala Mukas, Yosef understands that he is setting the stage for Klal Yisrael's future Galuyos. And we're making tikkunim over here. And he says for 4 Galuyos, we need to have 4 tzaddikim in Mitzrayim that are being soivel the Galus, and by them coming to being in the Rebbe's army, as we said, or being in Yosef's Galus in Mitzrayim, almost like the Cousins' army, they're in Yosef's Galus in Mitzrayim. We are going to shaf the tikkun that we need to shaf. Who are those 4 tzaddikim? It's Yosef. Yosef starts with a yud. Yosef's connected Yava. It starts with a yud. Ephraim and Menashe. Aleph Ephraim is Edom. Menashe is Mem is Madai. We need Binyamin for the base of Bavel. So Yosef is insisting you got to bring Binyamin down. This is what's going on. Binyamin has to come down. We need to make him an Eved. We have to put him to Galus with us. Yosef, ultimately Ephraim and Menashe are under the Shlita of Mitzrayim, no matter what the status was in the on the street, on the surface, on the Chitzainis, and we need Binyamin down here in Galus in Galus, and that's what he was insisting on, having these 4 tzaddikim connected the 4 Galuyos, and the remez being, now obviously it's a remez of the first letters, first names. Obviously, when you understand what the midas of each of these tzaddikim is, you'll understand how they correspond. Now I don't know how they correspond, but I do have emunah that avada, they correspond more than just the first letters of their names, okay? It's very shallow to say, the first letter of the name is why they correspond. No, it's because they correspond, therefore the first letters of their name correspond with the first letters of the Galus, okay? So let's not be shallow, okay, Mendy? No more of this shallow understanding, okay? Everything is be'emes. Huh?
What came first?
First comes back that the be'emes, their midah is a midah that's misak in that Galus.
That's why they got that.
And the mela, not why they got to be, but you could say why, but everything is always consistent. If they are that midah, you're going to find the consistency in their name also is going to correspond with the name of the Galus, or the country, or the malchus of that Galus. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam sha'akol niyeh b'dvarei.
Amen.
What's Yehuda's place in this whole conversation? Right, Yehuda's inserting himself in this Ephraim, Menashe, Yosef, Binyamin mix.
His Malchus.
Yehuda's Malchus. What is Malchus Yehuda insertion in this mix over here? Zok Yehuda, Vayomer Yehuda, Bi Adoni. Bi Adoni, you type Bi Adoni. Biva'u Riboini, please my master, right? I beg of you. Please my Lord. If you please my Lord. In Remez, what he's saying is, be in me, Adoni. Shem Aleph Dalet. Shem Aleph Dalet is Malchus. As we know, Hashem's Sfasai Tiftach is Aleph Dalet. And that is the Pesach into Avodah Hashem. You go to the Pesach of Malchus, Yer Shemayim. So he's saying, Yudah says, I got to be part of this mix over here, right? Bi Adoni, I'm Malchus, right? What is Malchus? Malchus is Shechina. Okay, do I have to give a half hour hakdama why Malchus is Shechina?
You could just say what it is and we'll believe you.
Malchus is Shechina. Okay? Okay, what is Shechina? Shechina is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Kedusha, which is Shayra Ba'aretz. Right? The Shechina is Shayra in Olam Hazeh. That's what Shechina is. When you talk about Olam Hazeh is Olam Asiyah. Right? Malchus and Asiyah, Din, Yira, these are all the same concepts. Okay, so you talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Kedusha's being Shayra in Olam Hazeh, we call that Shechina. Shechina is Malchus, it's the Shem Vowel of Dalit. Comes along Yehuda says, I have to be part of this mix over here. Because whenever Klal Yisrael goes into Galus, who accompanies Klal Yisrael into Galus to hold our hands to Galus? The Shechina. Shechina Gali Yumohem. So mainly Yehuda says, you have to add me into the mix over here, because Bi'adaini, I'm Malchus. And you can't just be you four without me. I'm an integral part of the Siyat Ishmael and the Tikkun of this Galus. So Yehuda's inserting himself. Zok the Migala Amukas. He says Hafla Fela. What's Yehuda's name? Yehuda's name is Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei with a Dalid. What's Yud Kei Vav Kei with a Dalid? Yud Kei Vav Kei is Hashem, the Shechina. Dalid is in the Dalid Goliyos. Okay, Yehuda is the Malchus, the Hashros HaShechina that accompanies Klal Yisrael and Galus. And that's what's Marumas in his name, Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei, with the Dalad, the Hashem in the Dalad Goliyos. Okay? Zok the Megala Mukas. You know Klal Yisrael, you know what Klal Yisrael is referred to in Galus? What's Klal Yisrael's, how are they, what are they referenced as?
Yehudim.
Yehudim. And Yehuda, right? We talk about, when you say Eretz Yisrael is destroyed, Judaea.
Judaea.
Right? You get the coins that Mordechai Simcha collects. You have one yet? Judaea Capta?
Expensive.
You haven't been getting one? Judaea Capta? Judaea, right? Klal Yisrael, when they're captured, when Eretz Yisrael is under the shlita of the Goyim, it's called Judaea. Why? Because Klal Yisrael in Galus is called Yehuda, right? Golsa Yehuda Me'aini, right? That's because that's what Klal Yisrael in Galus is. Klal Yisrael in Galus exists as an Am that has Hashras HaShechina that is helping us hobble through the Galus.
Moses too, you have Haisi Yehuda.
In Hal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's there. It's not involved. That's not going out of Galus, but it could be describing them, right? Yehuda, who's Klal Yisrael in Galus, went to the Bechin of Yisrael. I see you to Yisrael. Yehuda took that step out of the Galus Yidden to be Bechin Yisrael, if she says Upshot.
Different share.
So that's the Megala Amukas' Ramozim in what's going on over here, the conversation. Yehuda, Yosef, Binyamin, Ephraim, and Menashe, Shechina in the Dal Galuyos, forging the path in Dal Galuyos. So to me, this was a very uplifting pshat, because of some people, they go, oh, a nice Ramozim, interesting, same letters, blah blah blah, right? But to me, it's like all of a sudden, I till I saw this, I was feeling very lonely in Galus over here. Right? It's lonely. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're lost. Like what's going on? It's out of control. Right? Is there any plan over here? Like we know there's a plan, but the idea is to make the plan, get more and more amun in the plan, and the more you're exposed to the blueprint of the plan, and the more you're exposed to the process of the plan, so the easier it is to have that amunah. You have the great understanding of it. And all of a sudden, I felt, wow. We had all these tzaddikim. They were sitting, and they were literally prepping. How did they? What's the word? What's the term? The cliche. They were prepping the field. Well, there's a term they use. They were priming. Whatever. They were priming. They were prepping things for us. And Avada, they had this tremendous Shema to prep things for us that we're going to be Masliach. And on top of that, Kadosh Baruch Hu is sitting here with us, holding our hands. So the emunah that comes out of such a vart, such an understanding, right? To me, was very, very comforting, I should say, or very encouraging. Which is ultimately, I think, that is the goal of all our avodah, is to be encouraged in our avodas Hashem, and to know that the plan is already set. You know, we have a lot of siyata shmaya, and we're really following in the path that's been forged by Darius and Darius. We're not a random dar that's sitting here disconnected. We're mamish connected, and everything was forged until now is really the ground has been tilled. Yeah, ground has been tilled, right? And it's our job just do the final step. Like I told him a mashal many years ago about the Mendy Rosen button, right? I don't remember why we spoke about a Mendy Rosen button, but we spoke about Galus being a long game of golf. 18 holes of golf. We gave a mashal about this years ago. Right? Galus is 18 years of golf. 18 holes of golf. It's a long game, right? And you try to wonder, it's like if Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who would be the mashal of the master of golf, master golfer, right, cannot bring Mashiach, how are we going to do it? But then you realize, no, all the rounds have been played, and we're just following up on there. We're not being given 18 holes of golf to play. We're coming on the 18th hole on the third stroke, right? And where's the ball sitting, Mendy?
Green.
It is overhanging the cup, right? The shadow of the ball is in the cup, right? And all we have to do is what? Knock it in.
Mendy's button.
Right? And you look up to the sidelines and they call you up. Okay, you're up. Klal Yisrael, Tafshin Pei Aleph, you're up. And we look around the sidelines and we see the Avos. We see Adam Rishon. He's the tallest one. Other reason is V'shechma Lamala Gavaya from everybody. Right? You look up and you see like up into blotting out the sun. There's other Rishon. There's Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Noach. Sheis. Shem Aver. Avram Yitzchak. You look around until you see the later Darius. You see Rabbi Moshe Feinstein is sitting there, right? You see Rabbi Yashiv. You see all these big tzaddikim and say, "Mendy, you're up." You're like, "What, me?"
The whole wall behind you.
And behind the tzaddikim, his entire world is Amos being mitzapah for this day, and they give you the club and say, "Mendy, it's up to you." You say, "Me? Who am I? With all these tzaddikim here, you're giving it to me." You say, "Mendy, look at the ball. It's just overhanging the cup. Just like give a little tap." So, Mendy say, "Sure, no problem." Right? He walks over there, picks up the putter, and he leans over to give it that little tap, and all of a sudden he feels a buzzing in his pocket. Right? He quickly pulls it out. Leaper Schmelz is calling me! Right? And all of a sudden he turns around and he knocked the ball 3 inches the wrong way.
Uh-oh, Mendy.
Mendy. All of a sudden, what does the crowd say at that point?
Boo.
You hear, right? But not a problem. Mendy talking to Lipa, and they call the next guy. Call him Mordechai Simcha Papalau. Papalau, you're up. He looks next and says, "Listen, 3 inches from the cup. It's not overhanging the cup anymore." And he leans over, he gives it a little knock, and he gets a little bit closer. Comes along Ari Rosner. Comes along Rabbi Eli. "Oh, guys, tell me either you don't know what you're doing over here." Right? And takes the club. He's Messiach.
The big one.
He's Messiach Das a little bit during his putt. And for the next 3 hours, this ball is rotating around the cup within 3 inches. So that's literally what Klal Yisrael is doing nowadays. The ball is rotating all around the cup. Literally within 2-3 inches. Every once in a while, it's like overhanging the cup. The next guy sneezes. He gets a phone call. He gets a text message. He gets an Instagram. Then who knows? Then some yuckle gets a who knows what, a Snapchat, and the ball now 6 feet from the hole now. Right? Who knows what's going to knock it more than an inch or two away? Maybe some guy knocks it a foot or two away. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it's a no-brainer if we do it. And that's very encouraging at the end of the day. Because if you actually realize the marshal is true, you'll be much more motivated, right? Because you sort of feel pointless. What's the point of getting up, killing myself, staying focused? What's it going to accomplish anyway, right? I'm a nothing, a nobody, a garnished vermal, right? So a vermal, a worm, right?
Bubble gum in the bottom of the.
So how we go? So how we going to do anything? But when we recognize that the emes all this has been forged from the very beginning of Galus. In the Sharish of Galus, by the biggest tzaddik went into Galus and they forged a path for Savada. You can have bitachon that what we're doing is hemshech what they're doing, what they have done, and if we stay focused on it, we'll be gevaldik and matzliach. Okay, I guess we'll leave it at that. I spoke long enough, right? And if I talk any longer, I may say something that is a little bit not so understood, and then Ari's going to have time to see me again. So, wishing you all a wonderful Shabbos, and you should have a meaningful tainist. Sar B'Tevis is Haschalta de Parunusa. That's why it's a beginning of the Chorbanos. That's why Sar B'Tevis has some sort of chumrah greater than other Tanesim. That if first of all, if you have to have Shabbos, and if the Rishonim say if it fell on Shabbos, it would be like a Shabbos because it's such a zman of a schalta of korban, and if we relate to it to call b'sabel al Yushalayim zeiche miroya b'simchasa, we should talk about zeiche to have a gewaltige tzipir Yeshua. We should be zeiche to Yeshua the Gula Kar b'mheira. We should have a wonderful Shabbos, and thank you for coming and listening. Thank you, Mark.